everybody. Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist and guitar player for Eternal Deliria, Timothy Scandella.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
It's our pleasure, Timothy. So, as always, we like to start from the beginning. How did you get started in music and on bass?
Okay, well, music, my first music influence was going around in my father's car when I was a child, because in my father's car there was always some mainly Deep Purple or Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath records playing. So that was my first introduction to music. Mm-hmm. I really don't remember the first time I heard In Rock by Deep Purple. It's something I already known because of my father. That was my first introduction to music. And my father used to play guitar when he was younger. Mm-hmm. Then he left, but he always had his guitar laying around at home. So I kind of got interested in that, and I started playing a little bit of guitar. But I was always attracted to bass, and mainly at first because of a particular song. It was Easy Living by Uriah Heep. So it was a rock song with a very particular and interesting bass line. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that the sound of the bass. It was in between going rhythm and harmonically, but also some kind of lead parts. Yes. And but in the low register, and it was pretty exciting to my ears. So that's where I first started. And also my very first band was me, my cousin, and two friends of mine, and two of them were already playing guitar. Another one was playing drums. So I was like, okay, I'll choose the bass. I love it, but I never tried to play it. So I was like, okay, let's try. And my father was really happy that I wanted to start to play an instrument. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, let's find a cheap bass and let's start.
Yeah.
And that was basically my first introduction. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We were like a punk band. We were playing punk because back then the main music was that one. It mm-hmm. was like when the Blink-182 and Green Day was starting to have a little bit of tension. That's where I started. That's there, yeah.
Got you. And are you self-taught, or did you pursue further musical training?
Well, I started with a teacher, and that was a pretty strong influence on me also, because he was introducing me to jazz and to different kinds of music other than my father. I took lessons with him for 2 or 3 years. Then I stopped because I had to choose between music and school and other things that I had to do. Sure. So I started buying books and learning by myself more and more. I actually never got back to taking lessons with a teacher one-on-one, mm-hmm. but today I buy books and nowadays online courses, because it's pretty easy.
Sure.
Just books are a little bit disappearing, unfortunately, because I love books, but still. But with a teacher, it was the first 2 or 3 years, something like that.
Gotcha.
So I'm not a self-taught. I had a teacher that's taught.
It is a ongoing journey, in the developing music, and so many times it can be, whether it's online or a book or even your interaction with your fellow musicians, that sometimes a new song will demand developing a new skill, a new lick, and working. So it's always a constant. We learn all throughout life.
Yeah, definitely. It's a strange path, because sometimes it's like learning new things, and sometimes it's just okay, let's go back to do less, maybe, because you want to do too much sometimes. So it's a rough path, but it's always entertaining. That's why it's cool, And especially nowadays you have countless ways to learn. It's incredibly easy. Back in the days, for example, my father, he learned with his ears. He was listening to recordings and trying to follow what was going on. And nowadays the possibilities are incredible. So it's fascinating. And also the interaction with other musicians, especially when you have people better than you, which is always the case for me. You really find this kind of this input. It's a little bit of a challenge to just go, okay, I want to be as good as you. So it's like a personal challenge, but also okay, what you do I really enjoy it, so I'd like to understand it and get a little bit the grasp of it and understand how it goes and why did you choose this note and not this one, or why did you choose to play with 3 fingers instead of 2, those kind of things. Really, really interesting. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, and thinking about Eternal Deliria, you guys fall in a genre of Swiss melodic death metal, which is kind of interesting. It's a kind of a category of its own. Tell us about the band. You guys started around 2011?
Yeah, I was not with them from the beginning.
Okay.
They started with the same keyboard player, who is Claudio. He's like the main composer of the band, one of the main composers. And the other original member is Nix, one of the guitar players. Well, sorry, also the drum player, Alex. He was there from the beginning. And they had a female singer and the guy who was doing screams and growls. And that's when they started. Then the singer, the female singer, she was like into music, but she didn't want to go live. She was like a little bit shy. So they decided to part ways, and in a very friendly way. She's still a friend of us. And when they first started, it was almost, the standard melodic death metal. Not standard, I would say, but pretty much the European melodic death metal thing, influenced by Children of Bodom, all the main big ones. And I joined, I think it was 6 years ago. They were about to release their first EP. It was like a 5-song EP. And the old bass player recorded the EP and then wanted to do one last show, I think. And I was already confirmed as a new member, but he wanted to, to finish the recordings and do like the first single video, the video for the first single. And it was like, 6 or 7 years ago. And since then, we had almost a stable lineup. The only thing that changed is that I kind of changed my role, because when the second guitar player left last year, after the summer of 2019, we lost our guitar player, because we had different, just different visions for the band, so he left. And we had this void we had to fill. And since I also play guitar, I was like, okay, maybe I'll try and see what happens. So I just decided, okay, let's go and try to play guitar with this band. And so we had another place to fill, because we didn't have a bass player.
Yeah.
But we were like, before we used to be 6 people in the band, which is a lot of people. It's pretty hard to organize and to just every decision takes so long, because everyone has its own mind and we are all pretty stubborn, and so in the end we were like, okay, we feel good with being 5 people. So we ended up, nowadays we have a session bass player that comes just for the gigs and is like not actually, it's part of the band just as a live session member. Gotcha. And I take care of the bass and guitars in the studio and in the compositional aspect. So we were going like that for the last year. Some year and a couple of months. Of course, shows stopped because of the pandemic. And nowadays we feel good like this, and we will see if something needs to change or not. It's like, we'll see what happens, what will happen. Yeah.
Got you. Well, and speaking of that, you guys are getting ready to release, you got a new album coming up, Paradox of the Mechanical Angel. Yeah.
We released the album in April last year. During the pandemic, it was like... we were like screwed a little bit, because we worked pretty hard on the album, and we are a little bit maniacal on doing things the way we want. We really put a lot of work into the album, and we organized the first release party with a couple of bands from this region that are friend of us. And then we were like, okay, everything stopped like the month before, and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Will we like keep the album for a whole year maybe and not release it, or release it and just face the fact that we will not be able to promote it live or stuff? So in the end, we were like, after a long period in a studio, you just even tired of those songs. You just want to finish. Yeah, the cat. We just want to finish this process of creating an album, recording and producing it, and just let it go and let people listen to it. And so we choose to go this way, we just released it, and we are still waiting to play those songs live because we never actually played those live. And it was, a tough decision, but I think it was a right one because in the last year we were able to work on new songs, to work on different things for the band, and also since we used to have a pretty dense live schedule, we played pretty often. It was kind of hard for us to just stop for a while and just, for example, choose, okay, we are here, where do we want to go? This direction, this direction. Are we happy with the result of the songs that we are composing? We want to change something. We have to change the way we compose. We have to change something or not. When you play that often, it's pretty hard to do that.
Sure.
Especially because we're not a big band at all. When we tour, it means we don't tour at all, actually. For us, playing is like, okay, we have to go for like maybe 3-4 hours of journey with the whole band and play 30-40 minutes, then pack everything, go home.
There we go.
Start the working week. Then again, it starts it's like that. It's pretty time consuming. It's not like going on tour. It's much easier. You just take your time and you start and you finish and it's done.
Sure.
It's much easier. It's the album was released like 1 year ago, and we're just promoting it via Spotify and the different media online, but it's almost just that. Live, it's never been played. We'll wait. We're looking forward to do that.
There you go. Well, and as we talk about sound, tell us, how are you getting your sound? What gear are you playing on?
Bass-wise, I have an Ampeg SRV3, I think. I may be wrong with the letters, SRV or SVT, well. And with a cab, it's an Ampeg cab, it's at 4x10, that I bought years ago. And live, I started with that amp, with that setup. And then I sometimes change things a little bit. For example, I wanted to try the Dark Glass things, the Dark Glass products, because in the metal scene, the Dark Glass has become like the golden standard for tone. So I bought a B7K, the B7K Ultra, I think. It's the B7K pedal with the EQ and cab simulation. So for a couple of shows, I used that one. Just going DI to the PA and then using the stage monitors. But that's something that I really don't like too much. I like to feel the cabinet on the stage when I play live because I need a little bit of the the push.
Yeah.
So I then tried to go the Dark Glass into the return of the looper so that I use the power amp section of the Ampeg go into my cab, and that was a pretty satisfying result for me that I was using. And also I use a MXR compression, a pedal. It's the white pedal because the stomp box. Because since I use different techniques, for example, for the tapping things, I'm not that consistent with the sound, with the volume. So I had to use this little trick of having a compressor so that it evens out a little bit the output.
Yeah.
And lately, since we wanted to optimize a little bit the time we spent to set up the stage, because we play small shows in small venues, and we have like generally nights with many bands. We don't have 30 or 40 minutes to just set up our things, which need to be faster. We decided to go digital with everything. So we just built a rack containing all the amps, the digital amps for the guitars. The guitar players use Kempers. And so that's when I choose to buy an Axe-Fx for the bass. So I switched from all the fancy stuff to just a little small unit without power amp or anything. But I never managed to use it live with the bass because the pandemic's there. Yeah. And so I ended up using it live with the guitar. Sorry for the cat.
It's all good.
And so the sound of the bass was always Ampeg with or without the Dark Glass B7K, and the guitars are Kemper and Axe-Fx. And we actually never even tried the whole rack unit for the live shows. We never managed to do that. But it's pretty convenient because we have all the in-ears and all the wireless units in the same rack. It's a pretty huge rack with all the amps. And we also bought a stage mixer so that because we now have a sound guy that works with us. we generally use the venue sound guy because it was cheaper for us. But it was pretty hard to always set up all the amps and help the drummer. Nowadays it's much easier. You take your rack on stage, you plug a couple of cables, and you're ready to go. And we are also run a couple of backing tracks, well, a lot of backing tracks, because we cannot afford to have an orchestra, and we have orchestral parts in the music.
Sure.
So yeah, we decided to go all digital. It was much easier, and I don't know, I cannot say if it's a good choice or not, because we never managed to actually use the whole thing. But we will see. I hope to be able to tell you about that in the near future, because we really look forward to play live again, because it's getting long now.
I hear you. And what kind of bass are you playing?
Okay, I play fretless basses.
Okay.
And I used to play a Fame, because I had to go cheap, because I'm not that rich to own nice basses. I can show it to you. This one was my first fretless bass. It's a 6-string. It's a Fame. It's a brand. It's a pretty affordable brand. Mm-hmm. It looks like a mayonnaise. I think it's made out of a mayonnaise-shaped bass. It's ebony for the fretboard, and now it's all stripped up because I wanted to change the electronics, and I left the project halfway. So
there you go.
It's still waiting for me to decide what to do with it. Fame, it's like a small brand. I think it's the brand that's a shop brand. It's like, I don't know if you know Thomann. It's one of the big European online stores.
Sure.
And another one, it's called Music Store. It's a German store, and they have like their own brand. Mm-hmm. And so they're affordable basses. And I bought this one when I decided to go fretless with the band. It's like 5 years ago, I think. Mm-hmm. Then I wanted to upgrade the bass, as you saw. But in the end, I was like not satisfied with the scale length, because we dropped to a whole step down. Okay. And the guitar players use 7 strings, so it's like A standard. And the bass is a 34 inches scale length. So, and I like strings to be not that, not too flabby, not too. I need a little bit of tension for the strings. I like to have tension on the strings. And what I did was like, okay, I can go with thicker strings, and I bought a set of Joy strings. They're from America, I think. A custom one. They were 130 something on the bass, on the low A. It's pretty huge. But in the end, I was like, okay, let's try and go longer scale. So I bought this one is a used Ibanez PTB. I don't remember which model. It's not the Prestige one. It's the cheaper one.
Yeah.
That I bought used from a guy in Italy, and they built a new neck, I think. It was a luthier from Italy who built a new neck, or at least changed the fretboard, because it was not a fretless one at first. It was fretted. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if they changed the fretboard or the whole neck, if one of those two things. Probably they because I see no numbers, no nothing. So probably they just built a new neck.
A new neck.
Yeah, and they changed the electronics, and they put some Bartolinis inside, and they have an Aguilar preamp built inside. Nice. And I choose this bass because it has a 35 inches scale neck, so it's a little bit longer, and gives me a little bit more tension, so that I can use almost standard thickness of the strings, so I don't always have to order custom strings, and it makes it a little bit easier for me. And it sounds pretty good. It sounds very good. I wanted to try the tone capsule, so the preamp, the dark glass preamp, to be installed inside. I bought it, but I never managed to install it. It's still waiting on its box.
There you go.
Yeah, those are the two main basses that I own. Then I own a couple of fretted basses, but I don't use them with the band. I really enjoy the sound of a fretless bass. It's something that I really enjoy. Yeah.
It's a very interesting choice. And one area that always gets overlooked is instrument cables. Do you have a choice in instrument cable particularly?
No, not particularly. I know it can make a huge difference. And I was trying to dig into this aspect, because I was like, at first, I started as a punk player. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like crazy to see, okay, one cable, 3 meters cable, it's 100 francs. So it's almost $100. I was like, why? What's different? And I started to dig a little bit into this, but then we switched to going wireless.
So it's not an issue.
So I was like, okay, I'll find out later why do they cost that much.
Gotcha.
So I'm not that nerdy about cables.
I see. And looking ahead, I know we're still in the pandemic. Hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But what tentative plans do you guys have for the future?
Well, as I said, since we never managed to play live this album, we are really looking forward to go live and to play as much as we can. We have a couple of shows that we were very excited about. One of those was the Metal Days Festival in Slovenia, which is one of those very big European summer festivals. We played there 2 years ago in the small stage, the stage meant for young bands.
Sure.
And we passed the selections to play on the bigger stage. And we were very happy to do that, but these pandemics ruined everything for us. So we are looking to play at those shows because they proposed us to just postpone to the next happening time. I don't know if it will be this summer or even the next year. I don't know. And we had a couple of nice shows here in Switzerland too that we were looking forward to play there, but we couldn't. And also, since the album was written like over 1 year ago, because we released it 1 year ago, we are now planning on composing new songs. Since this year, it's the 10th year of the band for creation. So we were trying to find something interesting to do, maybe a new song, or maybe to re-record some old songs. But we probably go with new songs because the EP was released not that long ago. It was like 6 years ago.
Gotcha.
For the first 3 to 4 years, we know I was not there, but the band existed, but they didn't produce any songs. Songs yes, but not any albums, not any publications.
Gotcha.
So we probably will compose new stuff. And again, this pandemic stopped everything for us a little bit. Also rehearsals and stuff were put on hold for a while. So we will probably just fix a date where we will all meet and see, okay, what we'll do. Let's make a plan and decide what do we want to do, because it's like a couple of months now that we play rehearsals, but not that often. And also with work, it's not easy to find days time and days where everyone is available and stuff. So I think composing new things and playing when we can, as long as often as possible. Those are the plans, because it seems strange to plan too much nowadays, since we saw what can happen. One day you plan to play somewhere, and the next day you have to stay home. You cannot even work because of a small virus. So
absolutely. And flexible response with this has been something everybody has had to adapt to. It's changed everybody's reality, and so that's an important part.
Definitely.
If people want to know what you guys are up to, they can go to eternaldeliria.ch.
Right, that's our main website. And you can also find us on Spotify if you want to listen to us. And we also have an Instagram page, which is not, we use it, but for the official announcements, it's Facebook or the website.
Okay.
Yeah, the Facebook page and the website are the main channels that we use.
Got you. And then on Instagram, it's at Eternal Deliria Official, the app.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Perfect.
We don't have fan pages and stuff, so it's the only one you'll find, probably, with the name of the band.
Gotcha. Well, Timothy, we appreciate you taking time to chat with us, to share your journey and upcoming plans. We'll look forward to hearing from Eternal Deliria when we can. And so there you go. So, folks, you've seen him here, Timothy Scandella, coming to you live on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.